Hello and welcome back to the world of the spirit consciousness. This is the continuation of the book study session on the astral body and other astral phenomena. We are now in the 19th module, which is the last module of this particular book. This module we will be discussing about invisible helpers. So as always, this is subdivided into various parts. We'll be looking at the introduction, the types of invisible helpers, the work on the astral plane, about responding to prayers and calls for help, and being a helper. So, first, let us look at the introduction to invisible helpers. So, we are aware of the invisible forces' involvement in human matters, and recurring examples of it are available from time to time. These occurrences are somewhat unexplainable from the purely physical perspective. Someone who has gone through the preceding modules will appreciate that someone who understands even a little about the astral world and its possibilities can explain such occurrences easily and logically. The East has always acknowledged the existence of invisible helpers. So there are the old Greek tales of gods involving in human matters. For example, the Roman legend of Castor and Pollux leading the troops of the infant republic in the Battle of Lake Regillus. During the medieval period, several stories were told of saints who arrived at important movements and turned the tide in favor of Christian hosts in a war. For example, Saint James having led the Spanish troops. There are instances of guardian angel who have protected travelers from serious harm or death at times. So let us see what are the types of invisible helpers. So again, there are several types. Many dwellers of the astral world may help humans. They could be nature spirits, adept or a master, the devas, the physically dead humans, or alive humans who can easily travel on the astral plane. Let us evaluate each of them one by one, starting from nature spirits. So there are only few cases in which the nature spirits have helped humans. In general, nature spirits dislike the company of humans, including their emanations, restlessness, and the rush. For more details on this, we would suggest you refer the module covering astral entities, non-human. Other than some higher levels of nature spirits, majority of them are like playful children, careless and inconsequential activities instead of serious and responsible beings. In this matter, they can't be relied upon for a constant cooperation, although sometimes one of them gets attached to a human being and does a lot of good for him or her. Coming to adept or a master. So the adept or a master mainly works on the arupa levels of mental world. At this level, a person's self can be accessed instead of only the person's personality, as in the physical world. Hence, he rarely finds it necessary or desirable to function on a plane as low as the astral. So, to put it in simpler words, the adept or a master, let's consider this is a person who needs help. For sake of diagram, this is his presence in the astral world, this is the presence in the uh, higher presence. Let's say this is the astral body, and this is the higher bodies, which is essentially the mental or the causal, and this is physical. Now, the adept or a master can directly access over here and directly provide help over here. So, therefore, the adept or a master rarely finds it desirable to function on a plane over here. So, coming to devas. So, devas is another class of nature spirits, and they do respond to a person's desires or prayers at times. They do so on the mental plane instead of the astral or physical. Also, they work more often in the duration between rebirths rather than during the individual's physical existence. Then you have the physically dead humans. So, those who have recently had a physical death and stay close to the earthly matters also help at times. The student will understand that the help given thus is very restricted by nature. This is because helpful and selfless people are more likely to linger on the higher planes after death, as opposed to on the lower levels of the astral planes from where the earth is easily reachable. Also, for a deceased to influence a physically alive person, the latter has to be uncommonly sensitive, or the would be helper would have some amount of skill and knowledge. So these requirements are usually met very rarely. So then there is a final class of type of invisible helper, which is the alive humans who can easily travel on the astral plane. So given that we have seen that most of the classes, be it nature spirits who don't really help on the astral plane, or the adept or master who prefers to work through the higher planes, devas again usually help between rebirths, and the physically dead humans have limited capacity to help. So it is really the most of the work on the astral plane and the lower mental plane is handled by the master's pupils or by others who are evolved enough to consciously work on these planes. Often a student is employed as an agent. This is almost to an answer to a prayer. At times, a helper is mistaken to be a saint, etc., who was worshipped by the petitioner. There are several examples to prove this. So having seen the types of invisible helpers, let us see the kind of work on the astral plane and about responding to prayers on the or call for help. That discussion continues in the next video. Stay tuned.